Have you ever wondered how far someone can go to change a student's life? In a small town where dreams seemed unreachable, a bitter teacher is about to rediscover his passion for teaching. Michael Thompson, 50 years old, lived a colorless routine at Lincoln High School. But everything changes when Jack, a determined 16-year-old student, enters his classroom. "Mr. Thompson, I dream of becoming an engineer someday." These words ignite a long-forgotten spark in Michael's heart. But as he tries to help Jack and other underprivileged students, he finds himself at the center of a storm that threatens to destroy his career. When all seems lost, a surprising turn of events reveals shocking truths about the school and puts Michael in front of the greatest challenge of his life. Discover how a disbelieved teacher becomes the catalyst for a change that will transform not only the lives of his students but an entire community. Get ready to be moved and rekindle your faith in human potential. In the small town of Millbrook, where dreams seemed as distant as the stars, lived Michael Thompson. At 50 years old, he was a bitter math teacher whose passion for teaching had long been lost in the cold corridors of Lincoln High School. Michael woke up every day at 5:30 in the morning, not out of enthusiasm, but out of habit. The harsh sound of the alarm echoed through the empty room, and he got up with a heavy sigh. His small, messy apartment was a reflection of his life. Lonely and purposeless. The walls, once decorated with diplomas and certificates, were now bare, silent witnesses to abandoned dreams. At breakfast, he gulped down bitter coffee while browsing the local newspaper, his eyes always lingering on the job section. "Maybe today's the day I find something better," he muttered to himself, knowing deep down he'd never have the courage to leave the safety of his mediocre job. Arriving at school, Michael was greeted by young, excited faces, a stark contrast to his own gloomy mood. He entered the teacher's lounge, where his colleague Sarah, an ever-optimistic literature teacher, greeted him. "Good morning, Michael. Ready for another inspiring day?" she asked with a smile. Michael just grumbled in response, "If you say so, Sarah." "To me, it's just another day." Sarah frowned, concerned. "You know, Michael, sometimes a small gesture can change everything. You never know when you're going to make a difference in someone's life." Michael shook his head, skeptical. "Maybe for you, Sarah. I've given up waiting for miracles." On an autumn morning, when leaves were falling like Michael's hopes, a new student entered his classroom. Jack, a 16-year-old boy, arrived late, breathless and in worn-out clothes. His eyes, however, shone with an intensity Michael hadn't seen in years. "Sorry I'm late, Mr. Thompson," Jack said, breathing heavily. "I had to help my mom at the farmer's market before coming. She's not in the best health, you know." Michael raised an eyebrow, surprised by the boy's honesty. "It's okay, Jack. Take a seat. We were just starting to talk about quadratic equations." As he explained the content, Michael noticed that Jack paid attention to every word, his eyes fixed on the blackboard. At the end of class, while the other students rushed out, Jack timidly approached the teacher's desk. "Mr. Thompson, I was wondering if you have any extra material. You know, I missed some classes at the beginning of the year and wanted to catch up." Michael hesitated for a moment, but something in the boy's determination touched him. "I'll set aside some exercises for you." Weeks passed, and Michael noticed something unusual. Jack, despite his evident difficulties, was the first to arrive and the last to leave. He stayed after classes, asking questions and solving extra exercises. One day after class, Jack approached again. "Mr. Thompson, I wanted to thank you. Your extra exercises are helping me a lot. You know, I dream of being an engineer someday. My mom always says that education is the only thing that no one can take away from us." Michael felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a mix of pride and responsibility. "Your mom is right, Jack. And you have potential. Don't give up on that dream." Inspired by Jack's dedication, Michael began to change. He started arriving earlier, preparing more engaging lessons, and offering extra support to struggling students. He even began organizing study groups on Saturdays for students who needed additional help. The other teachers noticed the change. Sarah, in particular, was radiant. "Michael, what a transformation. What happened?" Michael smiled, something he hadn't done in years. "Let's just say I found a reason to believe again, Sarah. However, not everyone was happy with the change. The principal, Mrs. Harrison, looked suspiciously at Michael's new initiatives. One afternoon, she called him to her office. "Mr. Thompson," she said in a cold tone, "don't forget we have a curriculum to follow. We can't afford delays because of less fortunate students." Michael, feeling a courage he hadn't experienced in a long time, replied, "With all due respect, Mrs. Harrison, I believe our mission is to help all students reach their potential." Mrs. Harrison narrowed her eyes. "Just remember your place, Mr. Thompson." Despite the warning, Michael continued his work, focusing more and more on helping Jack and other students like him. He even started using his own money to buy extra materials and snacks for students who stayed for the study group. On a rainy afternoon, Mrs. Harrison called Michael to her office again. Her face was serious, almost triumphant. "Mr. Thompson, I'm afraid we have to let you go. Your recent actions are not aligned with our policies." Michael was stunned. "But the students are progressing. Jack and the others." "Jack is just one student," Mrs. Harrison interrupted. "We can't compromise the entire system for one. Or a few. Your presence here is no longer necessary." Michael left the school that day, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. The rain mingled with his tears of frustration. At home, he sank into his armchair, questioning everything he had done. The next morning, something unexpected happened. When he turned on the TV, Michael saw a crowd in front of the school. Dozens of students, led by Jack, were holding signs. "We want Mr. Thompson back. Education for all. Justice for our teacher." Local media was there, drawn by the commotion. Reporters interviewed students and parents, all praising Michael's work. Jack, with a trembling but determined voice, spoke into the microphone. "Mr. Thompson doesn't just teach us math. He teaches us to believe in ourselves. He stays late, uses his own money to help us. How can they fire him for doing his job too well?" The pressure mounted. The Board of Education initiated an investigation. Documents were analyzed, testimonies were collected. And then, the truth came to light. The school was diverting funds intended for programs to support underprivileged students. Mrs. Harrison had fired Michael not for his actions, but because he was inadvertently exposing the corruption in the school administration. The news exploded like a bomb. Mrs. Harrison was immediately removed, and a broader investigation was initiated. And Michael? He was invited to return not just as a teacher, but as the new interim principal of the school. When Michael returned to school, he was greeted with applause and hugs. Jack ran up to him with tears in his eyes. "Mr. Thompson, you're back. We did it." Michael, emotional, replied, "No, Jack. You did it. You taught me the greatest lesson of all. Never give up on what's right." Michael accepted the challenge of being principal with one condition, that the school implement a comprehensive support program for students in vulnerable situations. "We're going to transform this school into a place where everyone has a chance to shine," he declared in his first meeting as principal. In the months that followed, Lincoln High School transformed. New laboratories were built, mentoring programs were established, and the sparkle in the students' eyes rivaled the stars that once seemed so distant. 5 years later, Michael was in the front row at the local university's graduation ceremony. His eyes welled up as he watched Jack, now graduating in civil engineering, deliver his valedictorian speech. "There are people who light up our path," Jack said, looking directly at Michael. "They show us that with dedication and the right support, we can reach the stars. Mr. Thompson, you didn't just save our school. You saved our dreams." After the ceremony, Michael hugged Jack, proud. "Congratulations, engineer. You did it." Jack smiled, emotional. "Thanks to you, Mr. Thompson. And you know what? I've decided I'm going to be a teacher too. I want to do for others what you did for me." Michael felt a peace he had never known. He realized that his true calling was not just to teach math, but to light the flame of hope and knowledge in the hearts of his students. That night, as he returned home, Michael no longer saw an empty, lifeless apartment. The walls, once bare, were now decorated with photos of graduated students, thank you letters, and future projects. He saw a home full of possibilities, just like the hearts of the young people he helped shape every day. And so, with chalk in his hands and fire in his heart, Michael continued his journey no longer as a bitter man, but as a beacon of hope for all those who dared to dream. This story shows us that it's never too late to make a difference. Sometimes, by helping others, we find our true purpose. Remember, you too have the power to light up someone's path. Who knows, that person might be waiting for you to change their life. This story teaches us that a single act of kindness can trigger a wave of positive changes. Michael not only transformed his own life but impacted an entire community. And it all started with the decision to care, to do a little more. So, the next time you feel discouraged or think your actions don't make a difference, remember Michael and Jack. Remember that each of us has the power to inspire, to elevate, and to transform lives. Why not start today? Why not look around and see who needs a word of encouragement, a gesture of support? You never know, your action might be the beginning of an incredible story, just like Michael and Jack's. Thank you for joining me on this inspiring journey. If you liked it, don't forget to leave your like, share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Together, we can create the world where everyone has a chance to shine. Until next time.